Hey everyone, it's Tony with 3D Locksport, and that's the last time you'll ever hear me say that. I'd like to give you a little bit of history about my journey into Locksport and then how 3D Locksport came to be. I first picked my first lock in 2005 when I went to, I believe it was DEF CON 13. And I was walking through the vendor village and someone was selling lock picks, and they walked up to me with a master lock number 3 and a triple peak rake and a tension tool. And they asked me if I had ever picked a lock before, and I said no. So they showed me real quick how to do it, and I raked my first lock open. And I know all of you who are in Locksport know exactly what that first feeling of getting it open feels like. And I was immediately hooked. So I got myself a set of lock picks, and that's it. I've been in Locksport ever since then. Fast forward to the year 2015, and a group of friends and myself started a nonprofit organization in our town with the goal of teaching new technologies to the community that maybe they haven't had a chance to be exposed to. This included programming, 3D modeling, and 3D printing. I also taught some lockpicking classes there as well. But specifically, the part that's important is the 3D printing. As I got into Locksport more and more, I wasn't like most of you, and I developed a whole bunch of tools. And I needed some way to store and organize these tools. So I started designing and 3D printing my own things, like my lockpick stand, the lock gutting station, things along those lines. And I shared pictures of these online on like Reddit, other forums, Facebook. And I had people reach out to me saying, hey, that's awesome. Where do I get one of those? And I'm like, well, I guess I can make you one and ship it to you. And that's what I kind of did in the beginning. Just one by one, people would reach out and I'm like, sure, yeah, I can send you one. I can send you one. And then the demand got pretty high. I had more and more people asking for them over and over again. And I just couldn't continue to just take time out and just do this for free for people. So that's when I got the idea that I should start 3D Locksport. Now, I had a little bit of a problem because up to that point, I had been doing all the printing on the nonprofits' 3D printers. And giving them away was one thing, but if I was going to start selling them, I knew I couldn't use a nonprofit organization's printers to make a profit with. So I approached my wife, who has always been more than supportive of my crazy ideas throughout the year, or through our marriage, not just that year. And I asked, would it be okay if I bought a 3D printer for in-home so that I could start this 3D Locksport thing? And she's like, absolutely, go for it. So I ordered my first printer, which is actually the printer I have next to me right now. This is my first Prusa printer ever, named Zeus. I name all my printers so that when I'm in my slicing software, I can select what printer I'm going to send them to. My son named the first one Zeus. My daughter named our second one Rose. And then my third and fourth one are called Ghost and Joe. The last one's named Joe because Joseph Prusa signed it actually, so it just has his signature on it. And then I have one last one I finally got at the end called Panda, and we call it that because it's by Bamboo Printers. And that one's when I got to allow to do multicolor, multi-material printing. So I had all these, and I started up 3D Locksport. And for those of you that don't know, I own a web design and marketing firm. That's my day-to-day job. 3D Locksport has always just been kind of a side hobby project I've done. So the fact that I ran a web design and marketing firm my whole life, I had a little bit of an advantage because I was able to spin up my own website very easily. I was able to be familiar with marketing on social media platforms and also search engine optimization so I could start being found on Google. And all that really paid off, and 3D Locksport took off way beyond my expectations. I never expected to need more than one printer, let alone having 5 printers now to keep up with the demand. But that's just a little backstory about how I got into Locksport and into 3D printing. Now I need to go back in time again to kind of explain to you about the clickbaity open I did, about how you'll probably never hear me say with 3D Locksport again. So I've known Lockpicking Lawyer for quite a few years now. We met at DEF CON one year working the Lockpicking Village together. And we stay in touch, talk a lot. And one time I was on a phone call with him, and he's like, hey, you should come out and see Covert Instruments. Take a tour, see what it's like. because you're creative and you come up with product ideas and you manufacture your products, I think you'd really find interesting what we do here, how we create our products, how we manufacture them. And in my head, I'm like, absolutely, I would love to come out and see Covert Instruments. But finding the time, buying plane tickets, hotel, all that to get out there was just like, I don't know when this is going to happen. And that kind of just, went by the wayside, didn't think much of it, went on with life, kept working. And then, months later, we talk again about something and he'd bring it up again that I should come out. And I'm like, I want to get out there. I will. I'll get out there at some point. Well, now if you fast forward to the beginning of this year, I get a phone call from him again. And he's like, you should come out. I want you to meet Rob. You need to see this place. And if you don't know, Rob's another owner at Covert Instruments. Him and Lockpicking Lawyer own the business together. And he's like, I think you and Rob will hit it off. You guys should meet. We should hang out, just have some fun. So come on out. So I said, cool. So I ended up flying out to Virginia, went to the Covert Instruments headquarters, and we hung out for 3 days. I got to see all their manufacturing processes, which is awesome. I got to see the number of packages they ship on a daily basis, which would blow your mind. And then I got to meet all the employees, which everyone there is awesome. Either they're extremely creative or extremely efficient. Their shipping department is top notch. They gave me some sneak peeks, previews to some of the new products that are going to be coming out. And on the last day, Rob, myself, and Lockpicking Lawyer were sitting down in Rob's office just chatting. And then the guys brought up the idea of Covert Instruments acquiring 3D Locksport. And at first I was kind of like, okay, I'm open to all opportunities. Let's hear more about this. And they're like, they'd like to acquire 3D Locksport. And with that, bring me onto the team. And that was kind of a little taken aback because I own my own web design firm and marketing firm. I live in Iowa, they're in Virginia. How is this going to work? But the more we talked, I've always wanted to get into the InfoSec world, and lockpicking is part of the physical security, which is part of that InfoSec world. I'll be honest, I got extremely excited when they brought up this prospect. And we talked a bit more about what that would look like, what my responsibilities there would be, and I got very interested. So as I told him, I'm like, I can't make this decision now. I need to go home and discuss this with my wife, because it'd be me relocating my entire family halfway across the country. So I got home, I talked to my wife, and like I said before, she's extremely supportive. She's like, yeah, I think this is a good idea. I know you'll be happy there. I know this is something you'd love to do. It's something you've always wanted to do. Let's do it. So I have to give a big thank you to her for her support through this whole thing. And a lot of people would have said, no, we're not going to sell our house. You're not going to sell your company. And we're not going to uproot our entire lives and move across the country. But she's, like I said, she's always been extremely supportive. And so in July, I will be moving to Virginia and joining the Covert Instruments team. And Covert Instruments will officially be acquiring 3D Locksport. So I'm guessing that leaves some questions for some of you, like, what does this mean for 3D Locksport? I don't exactly know yet. So all the models and designs and products of 3D Locksport will become the property of Covert Instruments. What their plans to do with those items, I don't know are yet. And I probably won't fully know until we get there in July. There's been some discussion of what we will do with some of the products and some of the things, but not everything yet. So keep subscribed to the channel, subscribe to Covert Instruments channel, and all those announcements will be coming out in videos. But what that means for those of you who would still like to place an order is, I will be keeping 3D Locksport open and running until May 31st. On May 31st, the website will be coming down. There will be no more orders being able to be made after May 31st at midnight. So if there's something you'd want to get now until May 31st is your only opportunity you'll have left to purchase something from 3D Locksport. As a big thank you to everyone and all the support you guys have shown through the years, I'm just going to take the entire site and make everything 30% off. I don't care what it is. There's no coupon codes, nothing like that. I'm just going to go mark down all the pricing by 30%. So anything you want to get will be 30% off, free shipping over $50. So if there's been something you've been thinking about getting, or you want to get some more of something you already have, like another lockpick stand, this is a great opportunity to get one at a discount. And it's also going to be your last opportunity to get one while the store is still up. Also, you might have some questions about what does this mean for this channel? Because the purpose of this channel in the past has kind of been to inform you guys about what new products are coming out or what promotions I have going on. And seeing I won't be running 3D Locksport anymore, what will the channel be? Well, I can tell you what it's not going to be. It's not going to become a review channel. I'm not a review channel. There are a lot of great review channels out there for Locksport products, and I encourage you to subscribe to them all and watch them. That's not what I do. I'm not into buying all the products and going through everything and reviewing this one and giving you my opinion on products all the time. However, the channel will still be Locksport related. I will still be picking locks. I hope to bring my ideas about Locksport to the channel, things that will interest you and education-wise. I also want to start talking about 3D printing more. So I've had years of experience in 3D modeling and printing, and I think there's a lot of you out there who are in Locksport that might be interested in 3D printing. So I hope to talk more about that, and maybe that's something you guys can use to spark your interest in the hobby of 3D printing. But more than anything, what I've wanted to do for some time now is kind of convert this channel into a podcast/interview format where I interview people on the channel. There are a lot of interesting people in the Locksport world and the InfoSec/hacker world that have had a lot of cool stories, a lot of information that could be educational for all of us that have interest in it. And I'm going to reach out to all of them. And hopefully those people that I want to interview will say yes. And if they will, and they'll be on my show, then I'm definitely going to interview them. So I hope you stay subscribed, because I think there'll be some really cool stuff coming down the line in this channel. And speaking of subscribing, I want to thank everyone who did subscribe. I reached my goal of 1,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for that. I've now had to extend my goal to be 5,000 subscribers. So hopefully as I build and develop this channel into what it's going to become, we can keep building and developing the subscriber base, because I think this will interest a wider range of people, because it won't just be about new products. It'll actually be Locksport related, 3D printing related, and just InfoSec hacker life related with those interviews. I want to thank everyone over the years who have supported 3D Locksport. If you've ever placed an order with me, you know the postcards you get with every order, with a little thank you note from me on there. And one thing I say in there, and I mean this wholeheartedly, is nothing is cooler to me than someone looking at something I designed and saying, wow, I want one of those. That's one of the greatest feelings I have in my life. I think anyone who creates products feels that way. The fact that they had an idea for something, they created it, brought it into the world, and they weren't the only ones who thought it was a good idea. So a massive thank you to all of you who've supported me through all the years, whether it's through the channel, through 3D Locksport, or just as a friend and who's always backed me up and been there. I appreciate all of you. And until next time, stay safe out there.